get this, and then I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So welcome, ladies. I am so excited you're here. We have about 12 ladies that signed up today, so I'm really excited for today's call because, as y'all know, it's really hits home with me. I had half my thyroid removed when I was 19, and I'm 34 right now, so it's been something I've dealt with majority of my life. And so it's something that I struggled for many years, and now it's been to a point now where I'm so happy and so at peace at where I'm at with my thyroid health that that's why I'm doing this for y'all. So today what we're going to be talking about is what's the thyroid's job? You know, a majority of us here, even myself included, when yes, being a registered dietitian, I knew about what the thyroid did itself, but I didn't know exactly to the extent of it until I started really diving in. And I feel like that's where y'all are at as well. So let's dive in and start figuring out, okay, what actually is the job of the thyroid? So the thyroid is the butterfly-shaped gland that is right here in front of us. So we actually have two lobes of it, and then right behind it, that actually attaches to it are four other hormone sites called the parathyroid hormone. And even though the parathyroid is attached to it, it has absolutely nothing to do with the thyroid. Those are two separate organs. Those are two separate routes that they get activated. So right now we are just strictly talking about the thyroid. And the thyroid is actually responsible for the metabolism of almost every cell in your body. And this is really important to make note, because we think sometimes that it's like, oh, when we hear metabolism, it's just that, oh, I want to lose weight, or I'm thin or something. And that's not it. Metabolism is literally how fast your body utilizes that energy, how fast your body utilizes a certain component. Like there's a metabolism for the cholesterol. So that way, if y'all have ever had your cholesterol check and your thyroid levels are low, you might have elevated cholesterol because of the thyroid, because it slows down the metabolism, meaning that our body cannot clear that cholesterol at the rate it should when we are hypo, when we are low. So the thyroid's hormones regulate vital body functions that include breathing, heart rate, our nervous system. That's why a lot of us get anxious and depressed, or those crazy mood swings, body weight, muscle strength, our menstrual cycle. So if you've ever had issues, really heavy periods, that typically improves as the thyroid health improves as well. Body temperature, it regulates our body temperature. So some of us might have a more difficult time, if it's colder outside, and you go outside, it might take you twice as long as someone else to be able to regulate your temperature, to be able to adapt to being in that cold. Like I said, cholesterol levels and your metabolic rate. Your metabolic rate is just basically that can include your digestion, that can include anything. That's just your metabolism in general. So let's look at a little bit about how it works. The thyroid gland uses iodine from our foods. And it makes two main hormones with the iodine. So that's why we'll get to the iodine as far as either supplementation and foods here in just a second. But it makes the two main hormones, the T3 and the T4. And it's kind of funny that these are our two main hormones, because majority of the doctors only draw the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone. And that tells us, yes, a little bit about what's going on, but the T3 is going to be the main indicator of what's happening. But the T4 is the inactive form, and then our body converts it to T3. So that T4 is the first step, and then it goes into that T3. So sometimes our bodies need more thyroid hormones, and sometimes they need less. So this is where the hyper and hypo kind of comes into play. And it's actually all regulated by the pituitary gland, which is in our head, in the back of our brain. And so we have all of these components that are have to be in alignment for our thyroid to really to be well. And another component of this is our calcium regulating. So it also makes the hormone calcitonin, and it works with regulating the calcium and bone metabolism. And that actually works in conjunction, separate, but at the same time that as the parathyroid. So what is it made of? The thyroid gland is the organ with the highest amount of selenium per gram. And we really want to know this because selenium is required for making basically a lot of these hormones. I mean, if we don't have the main base, like it's kind of like our brains. If we don't have enough healthy fat for our brain health, that's when we get that foggy brain because our brains just cannot think straight. It doesn't have that lubrication. It can't to do its job. Same thing happening with our thyroid. If we don't give it enough selenium daily, and this is a daily thing, it has to be consistent. If we don't give it enough selenium, then it's not going to be able to do its job, right? So it's really important. And I did reference these if you have the handouts that I sent either this morning or yesterday, depending on when you signed up, you'll see if you want to go look at, I have references on all of this if you're curious like me. So let's go into the thyroid friendly foods. So this is going to be something that if y'all have been on a couple of the previous ones, you're going to see some of the repetitive a little bit, but it's because we want the big part about making sure that we are in a healthy thyroid or in a healthy body is that we have to start reducing inflammation. Inflammation is one of the most common things that we just live in. So many of us are just living in an inflamed state. So what we have to do is reduce inflammation, because if we can reduce inflammation inside the body, then that gives our body a chance to actually start working, the thyroid to start working and doing its job. And I'm going to kind of go a lot deeper in this here in just a couple minutes, but just understanding that inflammation is like the root of all evil when it comes to anything in the any health in the body, anything that's going on in the body. It's an inflammatory response typically that causes that first step of this like snowball effect that ends up happening. So the way we combat that and the way we kind of reverse this and start getting our body into what's called homeostasis. Homeostasis is the body's happy place. That is where everything is in alignment. That's where everything is in working order. And so we want homeostasis. That is the balance inside the body. And the way we do that is start eating the rainbow. So when you're eating your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, your snacks, I want you to start looking at your meals and start to figure out, okay, what else can I start adding in? What other colors are missing here? Because every single color of that rainbow of those foods provides you with a different antioxidant. Antioxidants' sole purpose, their role is to go out. There are scavengers. There are little soldiers that go out and see anything that is damaged, and they go out and protect it and reverse the damage that has gone on in that. So they can kill off anything that could be potentially turns into cancer even, So that's why those antioxidants are so important. And we don't replicate those in the labs. And I know you'll see like there's a lot of supplements and stuff out there. Yes, I take supplements that are vegetable based, powder even. But just know that you're not going to get as many antioxidants from those than you are going to get from a fresh food. And you're also, there's other components that we're not going to be able to replicate in the lab. There's things called phytonutrients that are, that we get. Phyto is sun. So we have to make sure that our fruits and vegetables are getting enough sun too. This is one thing we talked about on day one of the webinar this week was, starting to rotate your fruits and vegetables near a window so you can start getting that sunlight on them so that way they can be at their peak of their nutrition to get those antioxidant properties, those protective properties going on in our body. So when I say eat the rainbow, that's mainly your fruits and veggies. That's where we need to start incorporating those fruits and vegetables at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner, snacks at all times that are possible. I feel like most of us kind of put all of our vegetables typically only at dinner, or maybe we get lucky and we'll have like a salad at lunch, but we need to start finding ways to incorporate it all throughout the day. Veggie muffins are a great way to get it in the morning. This morning for breakfast, I had brown rice, black beans, some tomatoes, some kelp salt, and we'll go over that in just a second, and half an avocado. So I was able to get in my fiber, my protein, my vegetables, just by having some leftovers. So it doesn't always have to be breakfast food, but just start incorporating more of those fruits and vegetables in your morning routine. And you'll start to realize that you don't feel as puffy, you don't feel as swollen. You can start realizing that that anti-inflammatory properties of those fruits and vegetables are going to start doing their job. And then you want to try to hit as many food groups as possible. And I write minus dairy, because dairy can be inflammatory. Dairy can definitely cause hormonal issues, because dairy is milk and cheese that was supposed to be able to feed a cow, whatever it may be, a goat, right, to grow into the adult version of itself. So it's going to have hormones in there. So if our hormones are kind of out of whack, out of balance, even if those are a no added, even if that is a grass-fed dairy cow, it's going to have naturally containing hormones. And then you have to think about, okay, well, what if it's not a grass-fed cow? What if it's a cow that's been stuck side by side to another one? It's going to have elevated, stress hormones in it, in that dairy. So I really encourage y'all to kind of aim for about half a cup of dairy a day or less, especially when we're starting to regulate your hormones, especially when we're starting to regulate everything out, because it's really, really important for us to eliminate any possibility of our bodies utilizing other hormones, or we want our bodies to regulate itself, right? We don't want any external factors causing issues with this. So that's another thing that we can start doing, is start adding in more healthy fats. Healthy fats like from nuts and seeds, and avocado and salmon. Those are just fatty food in general. Those are what those healthy fats do is two things. The healthy fats reduce inflammation, like we were just talking about. Inflammation is the root of evil, right? Root of all evil. So it's going to help reduce inflammation. But the second thing the healthy fats are going to do is it's going to, every cell in our body has an outer layer of the fat. It's called a lipid membrane. And that type of fat that you're getting from the nuts and seeds and avocado is what our cells are made of. So if we have, if we don't have the right kinds of fats, then that outer layer of our cell is going to basically, it becomes semi-permeable. It allows, you can kind of think about it as like a sifter, a colander, how it allows certain things in and out. So now our hormones aren't just trapped inside of our cells. They're allowed to freely kind of do their thing and go out. So that's when we get these crazy mood swings. Starting to increase our fat, we want about 30% of our calories a day coming from fat. So it's a decent amount, for sure, decent amount of calories coming from our fat. And I have in here, for us that have thyroid issues, 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day is my prescription for you, for selenium. And we'll get to that part again, because if you remember, what does selenium do? It is what our thyroid is made of, is mostly comprised of selenium. So Brazil nuts are one of the richest sources of seleniums out there. And seleniums that is one of the most potent antioxidants. And if you reference your handout, you'll see a little bit more in detail. And I have a research article and everything attached there for you to actually understand that. But really, honestly, 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day, not only will that help your thyroid, but it's also so potent that selenium is one of the most strongest antioxidants out there. So it will reverse damage like that. To give you an example of how potent it is, I used to be a dialysis dietitian. So I worked in home therapy. So this is where they would do their dialysis at home. I had a close to a 400-pound lady who had lupus, which is an autoimmune disorder, and also on dialysis. The doctor was like, there's no way you're going to get this level of her protein status out of 4. There's no way you're ever going to get her there. Like, watch me. The only thing different I did was give her, she took 3 Brazil nuts a day. 3 Brazil nuts a day, and that reduced enough inflammation for her labs to be in perfect order. So if someone who is on dialysis, who stresses the body out, right? And has this like severe autoimmune, and then also is, you know, morbidly obese. If just 3 Brazil nuts a day can do that for someone, imagine what it's going to be doing inside of you. So those are the big honker, big nuts. So again, my prescription for you is don't do more than that, but just 2 to 3 a day, and start seeing the difference. You'll start seeing the difference in how if you feel puffy and swollen, you'll feel a difference with that. But then also the second component is that you might start noticing, oh, I'm, you know, pooping a little bit more frequently. I'm not having those slow bowel movements that's associated with slow thyroid, right? You might start noticing that you have a little bit more energy, all from just those little nuts. So it's really cool when that happens. And then obviously, you know, this is what the thyroid friendly foods, grains and carbohydrates are totally your friend. Don't discredit them, even if you're trying to lose weight. I know that that's where some of us, you know, oh, okay, I have hypothyroid, I want to lose weight, let me cut out on that. It's one of our body's main source of fuel, so we cannot forget the amount of grains and carbs. I want to say we can go anywhere from 40 to 60% of our daily calories just from carbohydrates alone. So, and our brain, it was kind of shocking, our brain almost utilizes 1,000 calories a day. And the brain, it needs those carbohydrates, right? So if you think about our brain is using that much a day, that's not really that many carbs left over for our body. So don't get so hung up on the carbs if you're trying to lose weight. It's that's not the problem, what's going on. What the problem is going on is probably the quality of the ingredients. So if we kind of think about, there's something in our foods, and I'll skip this. There's something in our foods, if it's processed foods, called endocrine disruptors. So these are basically, if you think about, we have these hormone sites. My fists right here are my hormone receptors inside of my body. What happens with when you have a endocrine disruptor, which could be going to McDonald's or going to Starbucks even, right? And now you had something that has its process, it has some chemicals. So now you have these receptor sites that are wanting the thyroid hormone to come on, the TSH or the T3 or T4 to do its job. And then here comes something to block it. This is our endocrine disruptor. So now you have this hormone that's trying to go on there, but something else has blocked it. So that's where the processed food comes into. We want to remove processed foods. We have to have good quality ingredients in our meals. We want to count our chemicals, not our calories. Those chemicals that are found in foods, if a lot of times, you know, that kind of good rule of thumb, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it type of thing. If we have to look at those ingredients. When I look at a food label, I ignore everything above and just skip on down to those ingredients. Look for those like whole grains. Look for the real words, those real plants, the real, you know, what it looks like, you know, how did that plant come from the ground? That's the way we should be eating. You know, think about if you lived on a farm 200 years ago, like how would you be eating? You wouldn't be having all these processed foods. You wouldn't be having all these, you know, Girl Scout cookies that my daughter's selling, right? You don't have all these stuff out there. And that's where we come into a lot of this. The problem is when we have these processed foods is that they're literally stopping us from utilizing the hormones that our body is making. So that's when we get into the, your labs look good, they look normal because your body's making them, right? Your body's still making those hormones, but then I don't feel good because you have something blocking it from actually doing that. So that's where that kind of, the doctor's like, your labs are good. And you're like, I feel like crap still, what's going on, right? So the first step in a lot of this is removing those processed foods, removing even, and we'll get to this more and once we touch base on the lifestyle component, but we have to think about the chemicals that are around us too, not just the ones that we're ingesting. So we'll get to that in just a little bit, but do know that that's mainly the main cause. It's not gluten, it's not goitrogens, it's not anything going on. One of the main causes, and if you think about why are there such a high rise of thyroid issues recently, and you're hearing like so many people have thyroid disorders, processed food, chemicals that we're doing, and stress. So one of the things to help reduce stress is to reduce inflammation in the body. So one of the things that I really encourage, if anyone has a thyroid disorder, we need to start abstaining and backing off our coffee. We really do. We need to start backing off on that. And this is what I drink, and I actually have it right here. I drink a turmeric latte every single morning for reducing inflammation. If we can reduce inflammation, then we're going to start feeling better. Our body is going to start allowing things to work, right? Because if we're inflamed, the processes that are going inside of our body aren't going to happen. It's just not going to happen out there. So this is where we start using food as medicine. That's why we started using the Brazil nuts as, that's part of our prescription, right? That's part of our feeling better, is those 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day. Another one is this turmeric latte. And the reason why that's really important is because all throughout their day, we're causing us to have, I see Jolene's driving in the car. That's stressful, right? If you have someone cut you off, right? That can be a stressor. If you're at work, that's a stressor. If you have a toddler who throws a fit, that's a stressor. So you have these constant stressors that are happening all throughout the day. So we can't just say, oh, well, this morning I had my turmeric latte, I'm good. And we need to start thinking about all throughout the day. And this is where all these thyroid-friendly foods come into place, because these will all help reduce stress inside the body. And the cool thing is all of these things do multiple things inside of our body. So not only does the antioxidants, help prevent cancer from happening, right? It's going to help us with controlling our stress level inside of us. So start incorporating, as much as the fruit and vegetables as you can throughout the day, but also these fats. We need to start thinking, when you have that salad at lunch, sprinkle some pumpkin seeds on top. When you make dinner tonight, if it's spaghetti, use up ground flaxseed into the spaghetti sauce. Or, if you make a quinoa bowl, add something else on top. There's always try to think of how much more can I start adding in more fat this way? What else can I start to do to incorporate this healthy fat for me? And once you start doing that, you'll start to notice 2 things happening. You feel better, you're not as swollen, but you also might notice that you're pooping better. So when you start incorporating more of these fruits and vegetables and these healthy fats, you're also incorporating more fiber. So we need to make sure that your water intake increases as well, because we don't want too much fiber. Fiber is a great thing. It can help us go poop, or it can constipate us if we don't have an adequate amount of water. So just making sure that we're drinking enough water throughout the day as well is really, really important. And it's something that we kind of forget, to do. It's not on a lot of our radar. So this turmeric latte, again, using spices like this. So when you maybe tonight for your chicken, had some turmeric onto your chicken, or turmeric and cauliflower is like one of my favorite combinations. You just roast that up real quick, some turmeric on top, super delicious. My cinnamon I add into my oatmeal. I add that onto my sweet potatoes whenever I'm making it. My butternut squash always gets sprinkled with some cinnamon. So do just try to think of, okay, well, what else can I start using, food as medicine? What else can I start adding in? I don't want you to think of how I can take away, but let's start thinking about what else can I do to start improving. We want to kind of weed out all the bad stuff by introducing all this amazing healthy things for us. So weed out the bad by adding in the good. So, all right. So now we're going to dive into supplements. So supplements for a healthy thyroid, again, a healthy foundation with real fruits and vegetables is key. And I can't stress that enough. And you're going to get tired of me saying, eat the rainbow, eat the rainbow. But honestly, like I said, I went 12 years being on Synthroid. I was actually, it's been about 15 years since I've had had my thyroid removed, or half of it removed. So I've been a dietitian that long. Almost that long. I was in school for some of it, but I've been a dietitian. I've eaten well majority of my life, right? So why was I still suffering? It wasn't, when we are stressed, when we have a thyroid issue, when we have autoimmune or something else going on, we're going to have higher needs. So what I was eating even though still currently, even though I eat really well, even though I incorporate everything, I still don't eat and meet the quota for my body, because my body burns through them like that. So do yours. If you're on this call, your body's utilizing and burning through all of these nutrients very fast. And it's just something, like we said, if we're not, if we're stressed at all, and I have not met anyone that has a thyroid issue that's not stressed. So if you're not stressed, then, you know, I need to learn your magic, because I haven't met anyone that is where y'all are at yet. So this is something that I take. It's just a 2-ounce shot, half a day of fruit and veggies, and just 2 ounces. I don't know if I have a discount code for this, so y'all can get 50% off. So if you all are wanting to look into this, let me know. They also have a turmeric one. They also have a like immunity blend too. So if you feel like you're not getting in your fruits and veggies every day, this is a really good way to start incorporating it. And I will say, this has been the best thing for me. I brought this on the cruise that I went on last summer. I bring this whenever I travel, because if I don't get my fruits and veggies in, my body becomes inflamed. I become tired. I don't like to be tired. So this is just a really nice little combination. I do like the green juice, but I have slowly just fallen more in love out of the sheer ease, as this is a lot easier just to drink and go. This is also a good way, like a protein powder. One of the protein powders I like to use, I don't have it on here. You can either use the Organifi or I like it, the Drink Orgain. And that one I like because it's a vegetable based. It's pea protein. So if you kind of think about, okay, if I'm going to make muffins, like maybe we can scoop in a scoop of vegetable protein powder, or, you know, some of this into your muffins that you end up making. Or if you make a smoothie, maybe you can add this into, you know, it. So just always try to think of, like, how much can I add in? What else, other fruits and veggies can I like incorporate into this? All right, so this is really, you know, yes, we talked about the nutrition. The nutrition is by far the foundation of things, but this is really where you kind of step it up a notch, is the thyroid supplements. So gut health is crucial, especially if you have Hashimoto's. You have to really be good with your gut health. Obviously, any other, you know, just hypothyroid like myself, obviously that is a huge component. But more so when you are Hashimoto's. There's a lot of studies that show the correlation between poor gut health and Hashimoto's. So we want to make sure that we have an adequate amount of probiotics in our body at any given time, because we should have about 2 pounds of good bacteria in our gut. 2 pounds. That is I really want to be funny right here, and I don't like to cuss, but it's a shit ton, right? It is a lot of probiotics, a lot of live bacteria that's going inside of our body. And you have to think about your live bacteria, those probiotics. It's like an ecosystem. You have to feed. Now you fed your body the probiotics. Now it's our turn to feed the probiotics. And what they eat is our fruits and vegetables, and this a little bit of the whole grains. So we have to make sure that that we're eating those fruit and veggies to make sure that good bacteria is in our gut and not dying off. If you've ever had antibiotics, if you've ever had diarrhea, been put on birth control, all of those will change the gut flora inside your gut. If you were a C-section birth, you're more than likely to have a gut health issue than if you were born vaginally. So all of this does actually play into our thyroid health, because let's review what happens inside the gut. So those probiotics, when we eat food, we poop, right? The probiotics, when they eat their food, what they make is something called short chain fatty acids. And those short chain fatty acids, that's the fuel for our gut wall. That is what our gut wall loves and needs to be strong and get that gut wall integrity. Well, when we are stressed, right? what happens when that stress happens is all that blood flow from our intestines gets shunted to our arms and to our legs, because we were supposed to be fighting or flight, right? We're supposed to be fighting something off or running away. That's the response that we get when we're stressed. However, when we live in a higher state of stress, and stress can be a chemical stress, right? Like we were talking about those endocrine disruptors. It can be a physical stress. We get into a car accident. We are doing, maybe we tried the keto diet, or maybe we did CrossFit, and that's a physical stress. And then there's also emotional stress. So if we had something traumatic happen to us that we haven't dealt with, and it's just like this like big wound that keeps getting bigger and bigger because we just keep shoving it down and ignoring it. That all of that can cause our gut health to kind of go away and have issues. So what we need to do is have the right amount of probiotics in our diet. So probiotics, when we're repairing our gut, probiotics from food alone is not helpful. I would still say, yes, we still need to eat our kombucha, kimchi, miso, all those fermented foods, huge, definitely need it. But you're more than likely going to need a probiotic to take a pill of it. And when we need to take a pill of a probiotic, we need one that has multiple strains of good bacteria. And I'm talking about like at least, 4 to 5 different kinds of good bacteria. And then at the same time, we want it to have like a high amount, and they measure it called CFUs. That's the measurement. So they have anywhere from like 1 billion to 10 billion to 30 billion. I kind of find that most people do best around starting off at about the 10 billion. So if you are going to, the local grocery store in the refrigerated section, look at multiple strains. I know like Flora Store, not a good one. It only has 1 strain. So we have to, the ones that are kind of on the TV that we see a lot of, even like the Activia, those aren't going to be the best route. That's not going to be what we want. Okay, so that is huge. And I know, Jolene, was it you that you were saying that you had the gut health issues, that you wanted to repair your gut? I wanted to make sure that I also mention that L-glutamine is an amino acid that helps repair the gut wall lining, in addition to those probiotics. So that would be something I would make sure that if you are trying to repair your gut wall, and you feel like, okay, I might have that leaky gut that everyone's talking about, probiotics and L-glutamine. L-glutamine is an amino acid specifically for gut wall repair. But the kind of funny thing is, so is this, the CBD oil and cod liver oil. I would say if I had to have everyone on certain supplements, everyone would be on probiotic, cod liver oil, and vitamin D. Those are my top 3. And then top 4 would be CBD. But yes, the cod liver oil is that important because the cod liver oil is another source to reduce inflammation. Again, I cannot stress enough, the inflammation is the root of all evil. Just kind of keep thinking about that. How can I reduce inflammation? It's been so powerful, this cod liver oil, that I don't have my panic attacks anymore, specifically since adding in those CBD oil. But as a great example too, my son, he's 4, has asthma. And when he doesn't have to be on Singulair or his inhalers or the Q-Bar, Pro Aero, all that stuff, because he's been given his cod liver oil. And when he has flare-ups, I give it to him twice a day. So some of my ladies who have like fibromyalgia, if they're going through, I had someone who had ulcerative colitis, we bump you up to, or rheumatoid arthritis even, bump you up during your flares to twice a day of that cod liver oil. And just do know that cod liver oil, as well as all the healthy fats, they do tend to thin the blood. So if you have a clotting disorder, then that needs to definitely, you need to talk with myself or your doctor about that as well. But it can thin the blood. CBD oil. CBD oil is something I feel like a lot of us are starting to hear the craze about, which is good. But the cool thing about CBD is that our bodies, every single one of us are born with receptors for CBD. We have a cannabinoid system, just like we have an endocrine system. Our thyroid's a part of our endocrine system. We have a cannabinoid system inside of our body. So to me, that is a sign that, hey, we need to be giving our body what it needs, right? We need to be giving it that that CBD oil, because what that CBD oil helps out with is inflammation reduction. So it is really powerful for the thyroid health, and it's really powerful for anxiety and stress reduction, and pain also. It's our kind of our pain system as well. So if you suffer from chronic pain, CBD oil, and some of y'all might need it a couple times a day initially to kind of help out with. But I I have I think the brand that I personally like the best. I've tried like 4 or 5 of them, and they're not. Let's just say they're not all created equally, or at least for my body. You know, we're all made differently, so just try the ones out. But I'll let you know which ones that I've tried and have been true to me. So let's see. I see. Hold on. There's some chat. So Chantel saying, "I love L-glutamine. Yes, I have gut health issues. I have blockage in my stomach and on TPN 2 feedings. Yes, full spectrum, absolutely. So yeah. So if you are on 2 feedings and on TPN, absolutely. I mean, I used to prescribe TPN, so I'm very well versed in it. Oh, yep, right there. So yeah, I mean, if you want to, you know, if we need to have a further discussion, definitely. If you feel like you're good and set, I'm assuming you have your own dietitian. Normally, if you're on 2 feedings or TPNs, you have your own dietitian. But if you need another dietitian's insight, let me know, and I can help make sure that we're seeing the whole picture. Because that's as a dietitian, that's what I'm trained in. You know, I used to be an EMT as well, and so that's just trained into me. I have to see the whole picture. I can't just focus in, like, kind of, I feel like a lot of doctors do, like, oh, it's just your thyroid. I'm like, it's everything in together. So yeah, so let me know if there's anything else that we need to go for. But yeah, full spectrum is going to be the better choice, because it does provide you with more than just the CBD. It provides you with, I mean, I forget how many different variations of that CBD there are in there, or properties, I guess I should say, of the hemp plant, but it's not just the CBD. CBD is the main one, but there's a lot of other ones that are helpful with stress reduction as well. All right, so let me minimize that. Okay, so iodine. So we talked a little bit, I mentioned that I'm on my breakfast this morning, I put iodine or some kelp salt. So iodine is needed for the T3 and T4 production. So if we don't have enough iodine in our body, we cannot make T3 and T4. So iodine is found mainly you can find it in table salt if it's been iodized, table salt, or it's going to be found in your sea vegetables. So your kelp, your chlorella, so everything that's going to be found in the ocean, your algae, that's going to be your source of iodine. I'm going to switch from doing the kelp salt, because honestly, I forget it a lot. And so it's just, we have to find what works best for us. I don't remember to do it every single day. I do remember to take my tinctures every single day. So I just ordered through this company, Cedar Bear Naturals. They have all of my, and I'll give you all the link and everything. I don't think I have the link in here. But they did just give me a discount code this past weekend. And again, it's NML35 to get 35% off, but they have an iodine for thyroid health. So I'm going to start trying that and see how that one works for me better than the other one. So yes, so we want to make sure that we do the iodine, but I don't want you to overdo it. So only do what the serving size says on it. If you do too much iodine and say, okay, I'm going to do some kelp salt in the morning, at lunch, and at dinner, we could actually kind of do a flip, and we can make too much T3 and T4, then that could suppress the production of TSH. So that can actually kind of throw us off even worse. So definitely, it's a fine line with iodine to have it. So too much is a bad thing. Okay, vitamin D. So we talked about vitamin D and the necessity for it. If you work inside and we're not outside enough, I guarantee you're vitamin D deficient. It's very, very common to be vitamin D nowadays, which is not good, but it's very, very common. I myself take at minimum 2,000. Typically, it's about 4,000, depending on, just because I know my levels. I have clients that have their thyroid or their vitamin D is in the 20s. I start them on like 6,000 units. So it's all depending on where your vitamin D level is at. So if you know it, then I can kind of guide you a little bit better with how much you need. But just know that you can get too much vitamin D if you overdo it. So we do have to be aware, but typically 2,000 units a day, you're not going to overdo it. There's even 4,000 units, you're probably not going to overdo it at all. And so there's a lot of studies show that, my experience as well, is that those that have Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism tend to have low vitamin D, which then in turn affects our immune system, because our vitamin D is just not in our bone health. It is also a huge role in our immune system. So if we don't have an adequate amount of vitamin D, that's when we become depressed. That's when we, become sluggish and we get sick more frequently. So many people just discredit that vitamin, but it's more like a hormone than it is a vitamin. So we really need to make sure that you have an adequate amount of vitamin D every day. All right, and selenium and zinc. So we learned about selenium because of those Brazil nuts, right? Because that's what our gland is made from. However, like zinc and vitamin D are also go with iodine, and they help make our thyroid hormone. So we need zinc to convert our hormones into the active form. And zinc, I don't recommend taking as a supplement. Just like I don't recommend selenium as a supplement either. I recommend you getting these through your foods. And selenium, because too much selenium, especially if you take it in a supplement, usually typically causes GI distress, aka diarrhea. That's why it's usually safe with 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day. And zinc is a mineral that is found in our nuts and seeds and whole grains. So if you start incorporating nuts and seeds every day, you're going to get an adequate amount. But if you were to take it as a supplement, zinc can actually bind to other heavy metals like copper and iron, and also selenium, and you can become deficient in those if you take zinc for too long. So I don't recommend taking zinc unless you have like a cold or something, and you can take zinc for a couple, days or no more than 2 weeks. But so it's kind of a fine line with those. But yes, selenium and zinc. Just eat your nuts and seeds, honestly. Eat a wide variety of them as well. And this one, y'all, has been one of my biggest game changers for myself personally. And that's what I have right here, my ashwagandha. This thing alone it's huge. I have a program that's called the Chronic Disease Health Reset Academy. And one of my students in there, I had her start it she was taking it for 2 weeks, and I had her on it for anxiety, and she has a panic issue. Just in that 2 weeks, she's like, I'm not mean mom. I'm not throwing fits. My son is like more calm now. And she was doing the CBD oil already. And also, this is also in conjunction with, she started eating better. So the gut health helped improve. But that ashwagandha actually stimulates the thyroid activity. So it actually helps it's a really great potent antioxidant, helps reduce stress. But in another way it helps reduce stress, it's called an adaptogenic herb. It helps our bodies adapt to the stress. But the cool thing is it actually is specifically for the thyroid. So it is fantastic for stress reduction, fantastic for anxiety, panic issues, overwhelm, whatever. But in return, it is like one of the most, that's the doctor, when I got off my thyroid medicine, he was like, at half a thyroid, I have never had anyone go only a couple months without needing to be put back on medicine. Here I am almost 15 months later, not needing it, no weight gain. And now my old doctor is now recommending ashwagandha to his patients because it works that well. I really, really am like, I'm a big big believer in it, if you can't tell. So I really believe everyone needs to be on that if you have a thyroid or stress issue. I think I see another chat. Let's see. 30. Oh, cool. I didn't know that, Chantel. That's so neat. She says she lives 30 minutes from the Cedar Bear home office. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just a company that I've recently fell in love with the last 6 months. I mean, I was taking ashwagandha pills and they were good. But again, you know, I had to come off of migraine medicine, daily anxiety medicine, my thyroid, you know, my Synthroid. So I was taking a lot of pills. So I didn't want to just replace another pill with a pill. And that's why I've been loving these tinctures, because I just like literally drop by in the morning and I just drop these in my under my tongue and I'm ready to go, which would be really good for you, Jolene, with the, you know, with the blockage. You can just drop and be really easy. Okay. I dare to ask, how long do y'all sleep for, right? do we make sleep a priority? And this is one of those things, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because a lot of thyroid sufferers have also difficulty falling asleep. But then the sleep is how we improve our thyroid, right? So it's like this like never-ending cycle of doom unless we start improving and figuring out how to do this. So I'm going to give you a couple tips that helps me out. But I have but I mean, I can't give you everything in this last 20 minutes that we have. But I really encourage, if you are laying there at bed at night and you're just like, God, I can't fall asleep. I'm just laying here. I don't know what's going on. I just can't sleep. And you just think about it. Right then, right there, get out of bed, get a pen and paper and start writing. Just let it flow. But also what we need to start doing is reflect on, because when we're laying in bed, we're thinking about what happened during that day, what you didn't get done, what you didn't do right, or we think about everything that, all the stuff that's coming tomorrow, or the upcoming, like, you know, stressors that way. So what I want you to do is get all that, basically what we're doing is we're transferring that energy, that stored energy, that anxiety out of our body, and we're transferring it through that pen to the paper. Don't you dare use your phone or an iPad to try to do this. It only works with pen and paper. And then what you do is you make your to-do list for tomorrow. Just 2 minutes, make a to-do list for tomorrow. Just that sheer act of getting all of that out of you, you're going to start realizing that you feel better, that you are sleeping better. And when you sleep better, everything starts to repair itself, because that's what our job at night is to do. Sleep is our repair. If we're not sleeping long enough, you're not getting, you know, if you think about like your phone, if you haven't restarted it in a while, or your computer, it doesn't run as efficiently, right? It starts slowing down. That's what's going on in our body. Or when we get that brain fog, it's because we're not sleeping enough, or not getting into that deep sleep. When, like I said, we poop out our waste, our brain has waste as well. Every time we think, every time we do something, it's we have a pathway, a neuron pathway, and that makes waste. That's kind of plaque buildup. So if we don't get an adequate amount of sleep, all that plaque buildup stays there, and that's where we get that foggy brain, I can't think right. So we have to sleep and get into that deep sleep. Being on the phone at night right before bed doesn't help, because of that blue light will stop you from getting into your deep sleep. So one thing what I do is I have and of course I brought them out for yesterday's webinar, but I have my sexy orange glasses. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see me put those on, but they're blue light canceling glasses. The blue light canceling glasses and the CBD at night were the biggest things to help me sleep. So the ones I get on, here, let me just grab it real quick for y'all. Right here. These glasses. So they're not the most sexy looking, and I'm sure you've seen some other out there that look a lot nicer. I have to continue, keep up with my continuing education, being a dietitian. So I have gone to brain health seminars, and one of them was asleep. And that was what the doctor was saying, is that these are $8 on Amazon, but they need to be that deep orange to really do the work to cut it out, because that's how we get into our deep sleep. And that is huge. All of this it's huge components. And I don't want you to look at and like, oh, I don't need to do this. Everything that I have on here, these are your non-negotiables. These are the things that we have to be doing every day to get to where you want to be. And I know it feels like exhausting. You kind of want to like lay out right now, like I am right here. And just like, oh my gosh, Nicole, this is so much information. This is so much to do. Just start with one thing. Just start tackling one thing, master that, add in the next thing, master that, add in the next, right? We have to continue to keep these going. But then we don't want to let anything else kind of fall away, fall by the wayside. So one of the things, like we were talking about, another endocrine disruptors are, our body wash, our hand soap, our laundry, makeup, tampons, right? You don't even think about our tampons being endocrine disruptors. I used to make my own laundry detergent. Now I have these little like ceramic balls that do everything for me. I don't use dryer sheets anymore. I use wool balls with essential oils on it. All those little steps, as silly and as woo-woo and as hippie as it might sound, really, really helpful with removing toxins to allow our hormones to re-regulate itself. That is what our goal is. We want our bodies to regulate themselves, and we can't do that if something is blocking it. And we have to exercise. And I know most of y'all don't want to or have the energy to when we're hypothyroid, when we're not feeling our best. It's hard to get up and do something. So something as simple as, parking at the end of the parking lot, like farthest away from the grocery store, just any little bit counts. Every once in a while, if I don't work out, like it's been rain today, luckily today's like a beautiful day. I was able to work out a little bit yesterday, but it's been raining like crazy here in California. So I haven't been working out as much or going outside as much, right? Some of my non-negotiables out there. So what I just do is I just drop down on the floor, do a couple push-ups randomly. If I start noticing I'm getting a little bit more stressed, I put some music on, I dance, I move, get my movement on every single day. No matter what, we need to get some movement on. We can't just, even if we don't have the energy, stretch, do something to help out with getting that blood flow, oxygenation going in your body. Really, really important. And then one of the things that I really encourage y'all to do is start every day with a morning meditation. And this is something that I grew up Presbyterian. So coming from a Christian standpoint, I was like, what do you mean? That's like, I don't know if I can do this. I talk to God. I do all this, this is weird for me. You can use meditation. It doesn't matter what religion you are. And that was this misconception from me, is that I thought you had to be like a monk or Buddhist to be able to do this. But what the goal of meditation is to raise your vibration. It's to make you happy. When you're at your happiest, that's your vibration. When you can feel all the, oh my God, I just feel good. I feel so, big and I'm so happy. That's what we're trying to strive for, because illness, disease is dis-ease. It's when the body is out of homeostasis. It's out of balance. It's in a low vibration. There is no such thing as disease in a higher vibration. Your body doesn't allow that to happen. So there is a lot of power between the mind and the body. So whatever you're thinking, the body will hear. So we have to have you in a good state starting off the day. So that way, as we're talking about, like Jolene's driving, hopefully no one cut you off to get you from you drop from right here down to here, right? So if we start our morning way up here, we only drop a little bit when something like that happens, versus we wake up in the morning, we don't feel good, something happens, is it knocks us down, right? And then when we're knocked down, we don't want to do anything. We don't want to be helpful for ourselves, I have my moments too where I'm just like, crap, I woke up and I'm in a bad mood and I don't want to do anything. And I don't. I honor some of those days. I don't allow it to happen very often, but I do allow myself to I listen to my body. I listen to my inner guidance, trust your gut. And if your gut is telling you need to rest. If your gut is telling you need to go do something, go do it. But we need to start listening and trusting in ourselves a little bit more. And I know you're like, how does this help with my thyroid? Like I said, stress reduction is key with improving thyroid health. Like, honestly, if we just tackle the food and then the supplements and we forget the lifestyle components of this, you'll end up back where you're at right now at one point. You know, I don't want you to, like, my goal of this is to give you every single tool to be able to be successful long-term. I don't, you know, as much as I love working with my clients, with my ladies one-on-one, like, I want you to fly and grow those wings on your own and be able to do this long-term and not have to come back to me. My goal as a dietitian is to have you understand every little component that you need to do, that you can do this on your own. And so, yes, meditation sounds like it's woo, but I really, really encourage y'all to start. I just go on YouTube. Some of my favorites, Chantel. Chantel, I don't know if you can leave your website. Chantel does some meditations too, and she is phenomenal at them. So if you want to put that in the chat box, Chantel, that would be great. But the Abraham Hicks, she's one that I thoroughly enjoy listening to. Bob Proctor. So just finding someone, I just go on YouTube. There's someone that I like to listen to, Doxy, to help me fall asleep. So I just YouTube everything. Like I said, Chantel has her own stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, you do. I mean, Chantel was part of my, she was a guest as one of my 12 Days of Health Myths, and I just fell in love with, like, how she does everything. So, like, I mean, absolutely, I'm going to toot your horn all the way, because it really works. This meditation does, and the way you do it, it just makes sense, you know? Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It just works. And so the not so common lifestyle thyroid hacks. And yes, I did put sex in there, and yes, we'll talk about that in a second. But again, the body hears what the mind is thinking. Honestly, if you're ever been depressed or have ever been anxious, that's your whole life is a mess, right? When you're in that, right? You don't feel good. We have to be aware of what we're telling ourselves. We have to be aware of the words we're saying. Like, what I used to say was, I'm always going to be sick. There's always going to be something wrong with me. So I always had something wrong with me. I always did. I always found something wrong with me until I worked on my mindset. And then now it's been like a year and a half, and I'm like, wow, I don't have anything wrong with me, because I'm not trying to find something wrong with me. I'm not focusing on all the stuff that went wrong with me, right? So just being grateful. I know it sounds very petty, just being grateful. I wake up in the morning. I am grateful for the bed I'm in. I look at my grandmother's chair every single morning that's sitting right here next to me, and I'm so grateful that I get to look at that chair to remind me of her, right? So as small as it may be, find things that you can do to be grateful for. Your mind is so powerful. Your body will start to change when your mind does. And again, do things that make you happy. Again, it doesn't seem like it's like, I'm always like, what makes me happy? What do I want to do? I want to be outside more. That is my happy place. I love being outside. I love being in the garden. I love to compost. I love to mow the yard, right? I'm weird. That is my happy place. It's not going to be yours. So find what makes you happy and do more of that. If painting makes you happy, do that. I had a client who didn't start losing weight until she started picking up photography again. It's like the weirdest things, because again, that happiness reduces that stress. Stress is inflammation. So if we can reduce the stress, reduce inflammation in our body starts to react and work for us, right? So you wouldn't think, okay, you know, pick up photography and then you'd see weight loss. It can happen like that. So again, we want to do things that make us happy. Sex makes us happy, right? And if you don't have a partner, you can take care of that yourself, right? And so I do want you to realize how important that is, as you know, we are living human beings, and that is something. Pleasure is part of our health. This is part of our life. So it boosts immunity. There is science behind it. I'm not just saying it just for enjoyment reasons, but there is science behind it in helping out with relieving stress and boosting our immunity. And those are the main 2 points that we're trying to make here. We're wanting our bodies to be able to not attack ourselves anymore, to be able to work for us instead of against us. So if it takes you going to go, purchase a little toy for yourself, go for it. I don't care. But do stuff that makes you happy. That's really the gist of this right now. And then also the time management, the prioritizing. Chaos is key. Stress reduction is key into maintaining a healthy thyroid, because stress causes inflammation, and we know inflammation causes our bodies to be all out of whack. So we have to have all of these in order. A great book that I listened to regarding, I didn't read it, I listened to it, but it is Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. It's a very easy, short read or listen, but it helps out with prioritizing your to-do list, right? Prioritizing the chaos. I know the whole Marie Kondo or whatever that thing is on Netflix. Do that. Start realizing that chaos is really where you're going to start seeing, you're going to be more stressed. If things are more organized, we're going to be less stressed, and less stress means healthier thyroid. So we're just going to do a quick overview, wrap up, and I'll let y'all ask questions. But remember, healthy foundation, eat the rainbow, those green supplements I was talking about, huge into making sure that your body is receiving what it needs. Increase your nuts and seeds for the omega-3, the inflammation reduction, but also because of the selenium and the zinc for our thyroid, right? We must sleep, learn to take rest when we need to. And then that mindset is another component that, again, that needs to be worked on daily, like multiple times a day. When I first started out with my mindset work, I had sticky notes all throughout the house. I wrote notes to myself on my mirror. It was constant. Any second of the day I had in the shower while I was driving, put on some Abraham Hicks, listen to it, and get myself into that good mood. It's just like any other muscle, right? It's like riding a bike. At first, if you've never done it before, it's harder to do, but after a while, it's like, I got this. It's just a muscle like anything else. That mindset, the more you do it, the easier it's going to be. So again, and that's basically it. So if y'all have questions, you can either unmute yourself, or here, I'll just mute everyone. Anyone else have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
About the iodine.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been taking, I think it's nascent iodine.
Okay.
Like atomic iodine.
Okay.
Is that, I know it's not like the where's my notes? T3 or T4.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably need to swap that out. That probably is not doing what it needs to do then, right? If
The
it's not that
atomic
T3. Yeah.
I'm still kind of confused on like what the question, like.
Oh, so
Sorry.
I don't see where it says on this atomic iodine that it's like a T3 or a T4.
Oh, no. Okay. So yeah. So no, it won't mention that on there. So that's T3 is your thyroid, is a hormone that our bodies make. So what the job of the iodine is to help our bodies make that hormone.
Okay.
So without the iodine, our body can't make it.
Okay. So taking the atomic iodine is probably okay then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just we don't want to make sure we don't overdo it. So just whatever the dosage says, that's it.
Okay.
Don't do anymore.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. This is, are there any foods you shouldn't eat if you're hypothyroid or Hashimoto's? I don't believe that there is we have to stay away from, like, I know you probably gluten, right? When it comes to like gluten, the whole gluten craze right now, I believe is because of processed foods and stress. If we think about, like I said, if we have so much stress going on in our body, no matter what you eat, you could potentially have that food pass through that gut wall. So what happens is that gut wall becomes thin, right? We talked about how that's really important. If the blood flow is not going to the intestines, it goes to the arms and the legs. So what happens then is that you have these hair-like things in your gut called villi that start to go away. And then when that happens, that means less surface area for all of those nutrients to be absorbed. And now what happens is that now that those little villi, those hair-like things go away, they now become thinner. That gut wall is now thin because that probiotics, like we were saying, those good bacteria, when their byproduct, like us pooping, is those short chain fatty acids that help repair and make sure this wall is strong. So now that we've taken those probiotics out, because all of those little things go away, from stress, from processed food, from not enough fiber in the diet, from antibiotics, whatever it may be, all of those go away. And now we get what's called the leaky gut, where these little links inside the gut wall now are broken because they're thin. So now it allows partially digested food to go through that gut wall. So whether it's gluten or broccoli or a piece of chicken, I don't know, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter what it is. My thing is that the gluten is not the root of the problem. The root of the problem is the stress. The root of the problem is a poor gut flora, not enough probiotics, not enough fiber to feed them. So if we tackle that stress, if we tackle, repopulating the gut using the L-glutamine, the probiotic, giving it enough fruits and vegetables to eat with, gluten's not going to have an issue. They're not going to have a problem with that. So to your answer, no, I don't believe, unless you don't like a food, yeah, no, or unless there's a sensitivity or you're noticing that there is something that it's literally reacting to you, then absolutely we can abstain from it. But again, if you're stressed out and you're having some sensitivities, it could just be the sheer fact that you're stressed and there's not enough blood flow to go down there. So I get people all the time coming to me with, I have all these different food sensitivities, like 15 different ones out there. And I'm like, okay, but no matter what, like you're always going to have those if you're always stressed. Let's tackle your stress. Let's tackle working on that. And then you can, start incorporating those foods again. So when it goes into like those goitrogens, those, the broccoli, can we eat broccoli or nightshades? Absolutely. There's things in those foods that they say don't eat that actually counteract. So there's those goitrogens. Basically what goitrogens are, could potentially, that's the theories behind these, that those goitrogens found in like broccoli could potentially cause us to have thyroid issues. It can stop our hormones from working. Yes, that is the case. However, there's also something in that broccoli that stops our bodies from accepting those goitrogens. So it's kind of like yes and no. So I say tackle your stress. And honestly, that's been the biggest thing. If we can tackle that, either the chemical, emotional, or physical stress, whatever it may be. Like I had a lady, I was talking about when she started taking photography. I had another lady who started seeing her thyroid. She was also, she actually had no thyroid, but she wasn't seeing any weight loss. And so the only thing is when we first started talking, she started saying, yeah, my mom used to say this, my mom used to say that. And it wasn't, what we did was when she started having conversations with her mom, she got stressed. So she had all this emotional stress from her mom. She had a conversation with her mom about her weight and how like she didn't like her mom talking about her weight and all that. Just that little conversation, within 2 weeks, she was down like a pant size just from talking to her mom. So the emotional stress sometimes is that big of an issue to cause us to have all of these health issues. And we think, okay, we're not losing weight or I'm not feeling the way I want to feel. It could be something as silly as there's something underlying emotionally that's going on. So that's why that journaling, the mindset, and all of that is really powerful with healing. So that was a long way to say, no, I don't do that. So Paula is saying, CBD oil question. Is there a standard baseline amount we should take? Excellent question. No. We're all made differently. And so it depends also on how stressed you are or what's going on. For myself, let me grab my dose that I take. Yeah, so I just want to make sure. I have it's 1,000 milligram, and I do the full spectrum as well. And the 1,000 milligram is where I usually like to start most of everyone on, because you can just potentially just use less of it and not have to go through a whole bottle if you need more and more and more. When you start off with it, you might need it like twice a day, 3 times a day. And most people honestly start feeling the big difference of it after a couple weeks. I, felt it probably about around 2 weeks. I've had a lot of clients around 3 to 4 that really feel the big change. So again, it's like one of those things like, okay, I'm not seeing the change that I want to see. I give up. You know, that happens a lot with us. We don't see everything. We don't see that immediate result. We give up. Like with everything here, we just have to keep going. We have to keep trying, keep doing it. And once you start, I mean, for me, like when I remember on the very beginning, I talked about we need to try to avoid caffeine. I had to do caffeine for 3 months, no caffeine for 3 months to get the full effect of that. So if I would have given up at month 1, you know, I still would probably have migraines and, you know, anxiety and panic issues. I stuck with the no caffeine for 3 months. I didn't even do chocolate during those 3 months. And then it kind of just reset my body into, you know, being used to not having that caffeine. And now, you know, the anxiety is better. Migraines are better. I'm not having issues. So consistency. And is there, and I will say that if you do get drug tested, do the isolate. They have trace amounts of THC in the full spectrum, like trace. You're not going to get like high from it or that, you know, effect. But it does have the trace amounts in the full spectrum, but I personally like the full spectrum better. So that is that. Anything else that I can help you guys with?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. I was thinking, well, the first time I started having issues is I was feeling tired all the time, no matter how much I slept and, you know, all that. I wanted to sleep more and more. So I realized I have a problem. So I went to see a doctor, just a regular doctor. And the only test that he done was the TPO, the antibodies for it. And they were probably in the 400s. And he said, okay, I have to give it this medicine, which was levothyroxine, 25 micrograms to start with. So I took that for a month, and then the blood work began and went high, blah, blah, blah. So basically, I was on 50 micrograms for about a year, and I didn't feel any better. Of course, I went through emotional stress and all kind of stuff. But I finally went to see an endocrinologist, and he got me off the medicine to run a full spectrum of blood work, basically, to do what I should have done from the beginning, but I didn't know what I had to do, obviously, because I never thought that I would get into this kind of problem. But anyway, and that was the first time and the only time since I've been on meds, that was the only time that I did lose weight. I lost like almost 20 pounds in 2 months or 3 months or so. But after that, it's just, I keep getting like, and I'm short. I'm 5'2", and I currently weigh 187. And the lowest that I have been as far as weight was 172 or so. But I just, and my energy is not any better, not with medicine. I mean, not like it's not helping me.
Yeah, and that's where we looked at, and now I'll reflect into the endocrine disruptors. So let's look at the quality of the food you're doing, right? Is it processed? Does it have chemicals? Is it sprayed, right? You know, like even like our fruits and vegetables, even if it's not organic, I'm okay with you not doing organic, but maybe you just need to do like a water and vinegar bath, like put the fruit and veggies in a little bit of water and vinegar, take some of that chemicals off of it, right? And so that just those little steps right there, because if you're giving those medicines and your body's not feeling any different, then I can guarantee what's happening. Remember how I was saying we have something that's blocking us from allowing those hormones, even the medicine, to accept that, to be on that hormone side. So if there's something, a chemical, that's stopping you from that medicine or your body's own hormones from working, you're going to feel run down. You're going to feel tired. So that's everything that we just talked about today. I would go back and look and say, okay, what else do I need to do? What else is, you know, look at what you're doing right now, and then look at what we talked about. Okay, what else can I start, you know, incorporating more fruits and vegetables? Can I start incorporating more nuts and seeds? All of these little steps are going to get you those results that you're wanting, the weight loss, the energy up, right? So I would just start looking and reflecting at what you're doing now and see, okay, what else did Nicole just say I can do, and just start incorporating these, you know. And a lot of this is just habit forming. So like It's just swapping out a new habit, you know, with an old one, which is way easier said than done. It takes about 30 days for us to really develop and hone in on a habit, and like it become like second nature to us. So it's just that consistent thing, consistency game is huge. It's huge for that. So I would say my guess is more if it's a chemical issue right now. Even the stuff that you're cleaning the house with, you know, your lotions that you're using.
That's what I'm doing right now. I switched to a diet that incorporates a lot of fruits and vegetables, and raw. I try to avoid cooked foods, but I mean, it's not like I don't eat cooked foods at all. It's just I try to, even now, like I had a big bowl of fruits here to eat. So
well, let me ask you this: how are you digesting it? Because if you you're okay with it, or is it giving you upset? Okay.
No, my stomach is not upset.
Good.
My belly doesn't hurt. I'm not bloated. I'm not anything like that. And my stools, I mean, I do go to the bathroom. I use the bathroom regularly, so I incorporate the greens. I take the spirulina, try to take it, and I try to do all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, like I said, when I was off the medicine for about 2 months, that's where I felt my energy was better. But also, I was in the sun a lot because I was in Florida. So I think that helped too. And that's when I lost the weight. That's where I had more energy. And probably that's when I got more vitamin D. But I didn't change my diet back then a whole lot. It's just I ate like probably 2 meals a day because I didn't need to eat more.
Yeah.
So that was the only time that I actually, you know, felt better, when I was off the medicine. So that's what I'm trying to do as well. Like just like you did, you got off the medicine. That's what I'm aiming for, to get off the medicine, because I personally prefer not to take medicine. Even if I have a headache, I prefer to take a nap or eat something or drink something or whatever. So, but I prefer not to take medicine.
Absolutely. No, I 100% agree with you on that insight for sure. So yeah, so hopefully, you know, like maybe now, like with that salad, like maybe you can add some pumpkin seeds or some sunflower seeds or something instead, you know, on top of that too. That would be a good step to reduce inflammation. And as a kind of a thank you for y'all, like I have this is what I was talking about as far as that gift. If y'all want to continue this kind of like Lavi, you're saying like, okay, I need to like, this is my goal that I want to go down. I have a healthy thyroid program. I even have the anti-stress and anxiety program. These are 4-week programs that I can share with y'all, but I'm giving it to y'all for half off for being here. So that will help kind of walk through everything kind of we talked about today, a lot more in depth and a lot more tools to be able to help you out with. So let me share. I wanted to share with y'all the screen here that I have it on. Let's see. Let me see here, of course. All right. So this right here is the Healthy Thyroid program that I'm talking about. And it's, that's not what I meant to do. So this is the Healthy Thyroid program. And so kind of like we were talking about, like, you know, with myself, like how I felt like, oh, I was always like this. I'm always going to be sick, always going to have something wrong with me. I teach you how to heal your health beliefs, how to rewrite that. So there's handouts that go with that. You go to the next category. We go into, you know, what is the thyroid, you know, kind of what we just talked about today. But a lot of these things you'll get tools, you get a meal plan. So let's see, we go more into there. So, you know, there's a meal plan for y'all that you would be able to get. So that way, Lavi, you know, okay, this is exactly what I should be eating. This is everything here. So let's see if it pulls up. Y'all, for some reason, I was having issues the other day with showing. Do y'all see the new meal plan now that's coming up?
I think the website.
No, this is the website. Okay. It's for some reason it does. I have to go back in and out. Okay. So yeah, so yeah, here's the healthy, like one of the meal plans. So you know, I go through, put everything back in here. We go through exactly lunch, dinner, everything in here. I mean, you see, there was even soup. There's pizza. But if you come down here, I have all the recipes, and then at the very end, right here is your grocery list. And some of these things you'll have like on hand, like black beans should be on hand, or, you know, some of the spices and stuff. So, you know, it seems like there's a lot of food, but most of, I would calculate it out at Walmart. And the foods that we were there were only about $120 for a family of 4. So it's really not that expensive, you know, using my meal plans. And so, yeah, so I go walk you through everything. Obviously you have a little video right here. Most videos, this one's a little less than 12 minutes. Most of them are around 10 minutes long. So that way you can go back and say, okay, this is really what I need to figure out, you know, kind of the foods in general, this, you know, how to overcome fatigue, how to do this inches. I have guidelines, trackers for you. Hair loss, anxiety, we go through all of that. I go more into the cleaning products. You know, we go into, I think I have recipes in there too for you, chemical free. So it's kind of a cool way to, like, you know, have that one-on-one with me without being one-on-one. So it's going to be one of my cheaper programs out there. It's $111 with the 50% off for the 4 weeks for y'all to be able to see step-by-step what exactly it is that you're needing to do. So I'll send all this out in the email for y'all. Obviously too, if anxiety and stress is your thing, then that I would obviously recommend going the other route, that other program. But it's just, like I said, the reason why I feel like very strong and passionate about this is just that I've been where you are and I've been where I'm at right now. And I really want everyone to be where I'm at right now. Really honestly want y'all to be here. So kind of as a nice, you know, gift for y'all to be able to kind of take this and continue to go with the next step. You know, you can use that coupon code Grateful50 to get the 50% off. But yeah, that's it. That's really what I had to say. And hopefully y'all, you know, got a lot out of this and can say, okay, this is, you know, I know now some of the next steps I can take, you know, now I have some more tools in my toolbox to kind of go forward with anything. So is there anything else I can do for y'all before I sign off? Y'all are good? So,
thank you so much for the information.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Absolutely. Yeah. And Paula, thanks so much for being here, guys, and Jolene and Chantel. I really appreciate all of y'all, Lavi. So definitely, I really appreciate y'all being here. I'll upload this to YouTube, and then I'll send the link in the email very shortly to y'all. And if you have any questions regarding, you know, the thyroid program, let me know, or, you know, anything kind of the next steps to go from here. You know, I'm here to help and guide you in any way that you need. So hope y'all have a good day and have a good weekend. And I'll hopefully see you soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.